The Last Days and Tragic Story of Rusty Hamer and Lani O'Grady. Even though Rusty Hamer showed signs of unhappiness in his early 20s, no one could predict the tragic turn the former child star's life took after the series Make Room for Daddy, renamed The Danny Thomas Show, ended in 1971. At only 5 years old, Rusty became a regular on television screens when he starred as the intelligent, curly-haired son of Danny Thomas on the hit sitcom, The Danny Thomas Show in 1953. For a boy his age, Rusty displayed a remarkable sense for comedy and stayed with the show for its run of 11 seasons. "He was the best boy actor I ever saw in my life," Danny told the Sarasota Herald in 1990. But after the show ended in 1964, the then 17-year-old Rusty found himself out of work. Without any offers, Rusty left Hollywood but returned briefly in 1970 when he starred in Make Room for Granddaddy. The show only aired 12 episodes before it got cancelled the following year, and without any job skills, Rusty found it hard to adjust. After odd jobs working in cafes and on oil rigs, Rusty found himself poverty-stricken and depressed. He turned to alcohol, and the more he drank, the more violent and delusional he became. According to Rusty's brother, John, Rusty also started suffering from debilitating back pain, but he refused to see a doctor. Sadly, Rusty Hamer's mental and physical health deteriorated sharply and he fell into a deep depression. He became delusional and reclusive. On January 18, 1990, Rusty committed suicide by putting a .357 pistol to his head and pulling the trigger. It was his brother John who discovered his body in the trailer where he lived near DeRidder. "He hasn't really been happy since his early 20s, but he didn't show any signs of this happening," John told. "It was just all of a sudden." Rusty's on-screen father, Danny Thomas, believed that the shock in transitioning from a life on set to a regular one contributed to Rusty's woes. He had been one of only 2 or 3 other students in a studio classroom, and it seemed to bother him when he went to public school. "He was still a happy kid, but he seemed like a fish out of the water," Danny said. The tragic end to Rusty's life inspired a fellow child actor, Paul Peterson, to start a support group to help prevent other child actors from going down the same path. Paul found a minor consideration that strives toward the improvement of working conditions for young actors while offering assistance in the transition from life as a child star to adulthood. Similar to Rusty, another former child star, Lani O'Grady's life took a drastic turn for the worst at the cusp of adulthood. As the eldest daughter on 8 is Enough, Lani's struggles with alcohol and drug abuse caused a tumultuous life which ultimately led to her untimely death. Found dead in her mobile home in Valencia, California on September 25, 2001, initial thoughts of natural causes got dismissed after the Los Angeles County coroner revealed the toxicology results. There were fatal levels of the antidepressant Prozac and the painkiller Vicodin in Lani's bloodstream that caused multiple drug intoxication. However, the coroner failed to determine whether the overdose happened accidentally or on purpose. Only 47 years old at the time of her death, Lani's struggle with alcohol and drug abuse started at the age of 18. Her career in acting, however, began years earlier at the age of 13. Lani had finally worn her mother down with persistent requests to audition for an acting role. She first got this idea after she saw her brother Don Grady act in the 1960s television comedy, My Three Sons. Her mother, Mary Grady, one of Hollywood's top children's agents at the time, knew of the emotional toll it could take on child actors, and therefore hesitantly let her daughter enter the showbiz. In 1969, Lani landed a leading role in an episode of The High Chaparral and marked the beginning of a short career. The role Lani got best known for following in 1977 with the comedy drama 8 is Enough, which centered around a writer-father and his 8 children. Born Lanita Rose O'Grady, she then changed her name to Lani O'Grady. When Lani starred on 8 is Enough, she had already suffered from panic attacks for several years. After she visited 32 doctors over the years, who mostly prescribed her various tranquilizers, she finally got diagnosed with panic disorder at the age of 21. During the filming of 8 is Enough, the panic attacks sometimes caused her to run to her dressing room to drink a Valium, Lani told the Los Angeles Times in 1994. Once she shook so much during a scene that someone had to drive her home. By the time the series ended in 1981, Lani had been in and out of 5 rehabilitation clinics. But her fear grew, and she later developed agoraphobia in 1993, which isolated Lani and kept her at home. Heavy use of medication and alcohol followed, which led to memory blackouts, and the diagnosis of a chemical imbalance in the brain in 1994. Lani then started non-narcotic medication treatment, which gave her hope for a better future. "I have a life today," she said. Unfortunately, she relapsed in 1998 and checked into the Thalian's mental health department at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in December that year to detox from prescription drugs. During an interview in 1994, Lori elaborated on why she had a hard time with child stars that blamed Hollywood for the troubles in their lives. The late actress had 3 childless marriages that all ended in divorce. Her first marriage to Eugene C. Otis in 1971 lasted 3 years, while her union with James F. Fallon in November 1975 only lasted 2 years. The late actress's last marriage also turned out to be the shortest, as she wed James Gibson Smith in September 1980 and got divorced the following year. Rest in peace Rusty Hamer, Lani O'Grady. Goodbye to legend.